You're very welcome back to the programme on now to the local elections. And once again, the main political parties have been criticised for having so few immigrants running. In the past, officials have been quoted as saying that immigrant communities were less likely to vote, so there was no real point in targeting them with immigrant candidates. Well, this morning I am joined by three of those immigrant candidates, all of whom were born outside Ireland. I'm joined by Edmund Lukuza, who's from the Congo and who is running now for Sinn Féin in Mulhudert. I'm joined by Mehmet Uladag from Turkey, who is running for People Before Profit in Castleknock. And in our Cork studio, I'm joined by Grzegorz Zaluski, a Polish national who signed the People's Contract. You are all very welcome indeed this morning. Thank you for coming in. I might just very briefly go through each of you and ask you a little about your background and how you came to be running for the parties that you've chosen in Ireland. Grzegorz, you're in the Cork studio, a bit of a disadvantage. We'll go to you first of all. You're a Polish national originally.
Yes, that's correct. Good morning to everyone. My story is actually short. I came to Ireland 10 years ago. First, I live in Cork for 3 years. And after that, I moved to Ballyhooly because I bought my house. And then, why I'm starting for the elections, I decided to fight for the house, for my future, and because I was forced to immigrate from Poland, because there was no actually future for people. So when I moved here in Ireland and I set up with my family, I decided to fight for the future, and that is actually the reason. Don't give up the faith and just take a chance to change something for better.
So that's interesting. So some of the things you saw happening in Poland, you're fighting to make sure that they don't happen here in Ireland, as well as the pressures that people are under. And can I ask you, Mehmet, what is your story? You're from Turkey originally.
I'm from Turkey originally, and I came to Ireland in 1998, 16 years ago. And since then, I mean, it is actually a natural next step for me, really, in terms of my local and national activism. And I have been involved in People Before Profit from the very beginning. From the early 2000s, I was involved in local issues and national issues. I'm a trade union member, and I have been very active in that front as well. And I've been involved in campaigns against hospital cuts locally, as well as various campaigns against austerity.
Would you have been politically active in Turkey before you came to Ireland?
I have been a political active as a student, and after my student years, I have been also involved in politics to much less to an extent, but I was active politically. So, I mean, the reason I'm running really isn't necessarily because People Before Profit has some artificial quotas, the way I call it, or has to bring a migrant candidate forward. That's not the reason, but the reason is because the people who selected me to run for it, we have always looked at what we can do, what sort of alternative radical voices we need to bring into politics, and what we can do as part of local campaigning, and we decided or people decided, my party decided that I was the right candidate. I can bring alternative and radical voices, so that's why I'm running.
Edmund, what about yourself? You're from the Congo originally.
Yeah, I'm originally from the Congo. I came to Ireland in 2001, following my involvement in politics in the Congo since 1987 as an active member of UDPS, the Union for Democracy and Social Progress, the main and popular political party outside and inside the Congo. And now the reason why I'm running as a Sinn Féin candidate is because in the Congo I was involved in politics, and I was fighting for the people. And when I came to Ireland, I knew at first hand that justice and injustice are two words which can be happening anywhere in the world and to anybody, wherever you are. Whoever you are, this can happen to you. Because the agenda, policies and governing forces that are behind, that are responsible for creating injustice here in Ireland are similar to what is actually compromising the livelihood of the global world. That's why when I became Irish, I felt that I had to get involved in politics.
In politics here as well.
Country.
It's very interesting listening to all three of you. You're saying that I suppose you were all fairly politically aware and certainly in your cases active before you came to Ireland. So it's not so much your experience of immigration that has informed your politics, it is you were politically active well before that. Of course, to go back to you, can I ask you, I mean, when you're going door to door in your constituency, what kind of reaction are you getting from people? Are they positive about the fact that you are an immigrant to the country, or do you get flack about it?
They're positive in general, and they are just surprised that I'm a Polish and an immigrant, and I decide to start run for the election, so be involved in the politics. But the reaction is very, very positive for me.
And do you get people kind of saying, well, you know, are you seeking out other Polish people in particular? Are you part of kind of activating the immigrant vote for your organisation, or are you right across the board?
No, mixed, both of them, and Irish and Polish. Actually, there is huge Polish community in Ireland, and if we get the vote for any party or candidates, it's good, so we try to encourage them as well.
Yeah, and are you finding that Polish people you meet, are they registered to vote? Are they engaged with the elections?
Not all of them was aware that we're entitled to vote for the local and European elections, but we just giving them the forms and just be them informed that they can vote.
Yeah, that's the thing, I suppose, that many immigrants don't know that they're entitled to vote in the local and Europeans, whereas not in the general elections. Mahmoud, you have actually experienced some pretty heinous behaviour out in your own area. Tell us about that.
I suppose one thing we have to realise is the reason migrants are involved in politics is it's just natural that, you know, migrants everywhere in the world have been involved in politics. I mean, migrants have become presidents, you know, running countries, and migration is a fact of life since hundreds of years. So, I mean, in Ireland, migrants are therefore a natural part of the politics, and it's just not because where they came from or who they are, it's just what they believe in, what they want to change, what their dreams and hopes are, what their policies are. It doesn't, the race, ethnicity, etc. doesn't necessarily always define these things. But I have experienced racism. I mean, it's outright racism, really, where my posters were sellotaped with bacon, raw bacon. Now,
that's extraordinary.
It is extraordinary.
This is you're running Castleknock.
Castleknock ward, and it has been happening on a number of election posters, and some of my posters have been ripped and shredded, etc. Just to put it into perspective, the bacon attack, as the British media will call it, actually is a specific form of far-right elements attacks in Britain towards Muslims.
So it would have been learned from Britain. Are you getting it when you go door to door?
No, I don't, absolutely not. And here's the interesting thing, they are making obviously a huge presumption that I'm Muslim.
Yeah.
Not that it matters or doesn't that someone is Muslim or not, because someone is supposed to be judged by their policies and their views of the world. There are 1,800 candidates running, and we don't know who's believing in what and who has what sort of spiritual.
But they've just decided the fact that you're from Turkey, that you're
predominantly Muslim. I have the look, obviously, with the beard and everything, and they have probably learned from what's happening around the world. And it is a particular nasty form of attack.
And are you Muslim?
Well, I don't practice.
You don't practice?
I don't practice.
Does it? I mean, is it the racism that offends you, or do you also take offence against your religion?
I have been also an activist and campaigner in the Irish anti-war movement, and Islamophobia is a very rising form of racism, and especially in the last 10 to 15 years in Western Europe, it has been a form of attack. Let's not forget what happened in Norway, for example. Let's not forget what happened in Germany when serial killers actually murdered 8-9 people from Muslim countries. I think Islamophobia is a form of racism, and I took offense in the sense that whether they know me or not personally is irrelevant, but what they're saying basically is, we don't want you here. And they're using this very nasty form of attack, associating my posters and my election campaign with a specific religion, and therefore trying to upset the people of that religion.
Yeah, and trying to associate it with a certain ideology as well.
Exactly. Dublin 15 has 20 to 23% migrant population, and that's really an attack to all of these people.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Edmund, what about yourself? I mean, are you getting racism when you go out for Sinn Féin or when you meet constituents? Are you getting anything equivalent to what Mahmoud would have experienced?
When I go out, the overall response from the doors is quite positive. About racism, when I was living in Town, I was victim of some, I call it antisocial behavior. They smashed my car many times.
Town in West Dublin,
Town, I was living there for 7 years. So But racism is a fact, but we have to stand against this, and there's no
So, and that would have been racism, or, well, I suppose as you put it, antisocial behaviour you would have experienced when you were just living as a resident there. But in terms of your political campaign now, I mean, are you getting any kind of negative reaction to the fact that you, as an immigrant to the country, are running for election? No, you're not seeing that?
No, I didn't get any kind of...
And it's interesting, I mean, Sinn Féin you've decided to stand for. Would you be getting a lot of support from the party? Is it something that the Sinn Féin party are very interested in, is getting a bigger representation amongst the immigrant population here?
Yeah, as you can see, I have been selected as one of the Sinn Féin candidates in the upcoming local elections this month. I am very honored to have been selected, and I feel really privileged to stand as a Sinn Féin candidate, especially as the first ever New Irish to stand, originally from Africa, to stand for Sinn Féin.
It is amazing, is it? The first ever New Irish to stand for Sinn Féin. But of course, just to go back to you there, I mean, are you likely to get a seat? Do you think? Like, what are the polls saying for you?
I hope so.
Yeah, and is that the beginning of a political career? I mean, what are you hoping for when you get in?
What's my plan? You know, to encourage people that the democracy is the system which should work here, and that the people have real power to decide what's going on with the country.
And I suppose really all three of you, you're trailblazers. I think there's only about 29 new Irish going for election this year. That's actually a reduction on the last local elections. Do you feel that it's making a difference with immigrant populations in Cork, just seeing you running for election?
Yes, even if I will not get the seat, that will encourage people that maybe in next local election there may be more Polish candidates or immigrants as well, and that even if someone will not decide to be a candidate, because that is the challenge, so the people will believe that they can start deciding what's going on the ground level, on the local communities.
Yeah.
And that is good as well.
Absolutely, just even to get people to register to vote, I suppose, if they see their own communities running for election. Listen, we're going to have to leave it there. The very best of luck to all three of you, and thank you very much indeed for coming in to us this morning. Thank you. Now, it's just after 10 on Tuesday morning. Still to come on today's programme, we're going to have